Hey guys, this is Stizzl, I think, but I'm pretty sure he and I have very exciting takes on what our favorite and worst monsters were from the beta alone. In my opinion, the I f- well, let's see. Listen, the worst monster would probably be the chicken with the flash on his head, because because of how annoying it is. But I do say the best fight before Arkvel was raid out, because he was very familiar. He had telegraphed attacks that were very familiar to the Frathlos and Rathian. But with the extra steps of hey, I'm gonna shoot a railgun. Hey, I'm gonna cut the floor with my wing. But otherwise, raid out is the best beta monster after Arkveiled. And the worst monster is, I would say, the chicken with the flash on his head. But let's check him out.
The Monster Hunter Wilds beta just ended, and we are gonna rank the monsters that were in that beta from worst to best. I know last week I said my next video would be about the Elden Ring network test, but it turns out I spent most of my time that I could have spent with the network
About what?
would be about the Elden Ring network test, but it turns out I spent most of my time that I could have spent with the network test in the beta.
Well, it was really fun. I gotta give you that much, because for me, I was technically forced to put more focus on other things, because the last weekend I worked 6 days, and I intentionally put more time into more time into recording Lies of P, because Overture came out.
Before we start, here's a little info about what my journey as a Monster Hunter fan has been like over the years. So, it began with Monster Hunter World in 2018, and now we're here. And I went into this beta untainted. I did not know about any monsters I would face, nor did I watch the story-related cutscenes, as I didn't want to get spoiled for the actual game. So, I went in blind, I created my character, recreated my girlfriend's way too Austrian-looking cat, and together, me and that cat went off into the dunes and storms of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta.
I will respect that he came into the beta without any spoilers. But I will say that going into the game next week without spoilers will give you an even heightened response to the game. Whereas people like myself who've played the beta and who've destroyed Arkveiled, we were really excited to just be in the world. And it'll be, for me, it's going to be similar to finding meeting my girlfriend, my now wife, for the first time. It's going to be as magical the first time as it was the last time.
For the purposes of this video, I fought every monster at least once, and man, the starting roster of monsters is very, very strong.
It is.
So even though each monster will also receive a rank from S tier to F tier in theory, the lowest I will go for this video is C tier. At the very bottom of the C tier, almost dropping to a D.
Gyarados was the worst of the 6 monsters, because it's boring. You have a tail that erects, you have a head that flashes, but it feels like fighting a fatter Kuzuki.
This is actually wonderful news, because as it turns out, and as I found out while writing this video, this monster is the only one of the 6 I fought that is not new. So this one being the lowest already says a lot about the quality of the new monsters. And for being at the bottom, this one isn't too bad. It looks and acts really funny, it has got a lot of character, and the playing dead trick is actually hilarious, and further makes the character stand out a lot more.
That move alone was just fun to deal with as a heavy weapons user, because him being a mobile fighter, he'll see it a second before the Gyarados decides to use it. I see it as it happens. Dual Bladers will see it seconds before they make it a decision to.
But regardless of that, fighting this rubbery chicken feels just like
rubbery chicken.
Which means having unfortunate encounters with cartilage every few seconds, and probably also getting poisoned half the time. Basically, what I imagine the experience when ordering chicken nuggets at an American McDonald's is like. So yeah, I don't really like fighting this one.
American McDonald's?
Ordering chicken nuggets at an American McDonald's is like. So yeah, I don't really like fighting this one, but I love the character, and how it interacts with its environments. Chippy can actually plug flying monsters.
I footage of some of the stuff I wanted to. But I will say that, again, I will have to hunt that chicken anyways, because from the beginning of high rank and beyond, everything is registered as an option for layered armor. So if the fashion looks good, I'm going to use you. Otherwise, you can you can look at my ass and have a good day.
Out of the sky with its tail and snack up on these glowing bugs to recharge its flashing attack. I already mentioned how it plays dead, but I also love how it throws a tantrum a few times during the fight, because it is really unhappy
it just jumps
with the whole
around
situation
randomly.
of being killed and stuff. So yeah, it is a bit of a pain to fight because it is the personification of food poisoning with an attitude, but it ain't too bad at all. And even though this creature was in the lower end of the C tier, we now move to the middle of B tier for another.
But if I remember correctly, doesn't the Gypaceros fake die and then just attack whoever is on the monster, expecting themselves to carve it?
Number 5. Chatacabra has the very hard task of being the first monster you will fight in Wilds, at least in beta, and it
Little
passes
frog
this test
baby.
with flying colors. It is memorable because of its design.
Is,
and the design itself
those are
also
cute
makes this
frogs.
thing very cute.
Frog
So
Pamper
I have a proposition
Money
to make.
Plus.
Dear Mr. Capcom, please allow players to craft a shrinking tool so we can not only capture monsters, but also shrink them down to pet size so that I can have a little Chatacabra or a slightly more threatening little Arkveld as my pet. Signed, the entire Monster Hunter community. But even though it's memorable, this...
But I will say the Chatacabra is pretty cute just because there's a charm to a frog monster that is essentially a reskin Mega Evolutioned Mudkip. Not Mudkip. It's what was his name? Not Marsh Tom. What is the other ones? Swampert. The fact that this guy is basically an oversized is a reskin Swampert that is mega evolved.
Frog is maybe a bit too easy. This frog makes me want to turn vegan, because no amount of the cognitive dissonance I normally bask myself in, which allows me to think
All
that
these
whatever
frogs.
I'm doing
Oh,
to
no.
these creatures is somewhat justified, is retained when I see the sheer amount of animal cruelty I'm bringing down on this poor round blob like the aggressive Beyblade I am.
So,
Like, give me a
sorry.
slightly
I need to
upgraded weapon,
properly
and I alone
give
blob like the is retained.
its credit. This clip. Sorry, credited to Pamper Mooney Plus. Sorry, I just want to
When I
make
see
sure.
the sheer amount of animal cruelty I'm bringing down on this poor round blob like the aggressive Beyblade I am. Like, give me a slightly upgraded weapon, and I alone can make this entire species go extinct in 45 minutes.
Extinct, not instinct. Yeah,
But even though it has a
there's a lot of
accomplishing
charm.
nothing ever, this does not deter our friend from having the guts to at least try. I said
There's
it
a
don't
lot
have on
of
video,
charm.
but this little desert rain frog actually saw Ray Dao in the distance and charged at it with the intensity of an elderly
You
noble
saw it?
gunner.
Oh,
And then
that's
obviously
hell yeah.
got shot in the face twice point blank and had its body broken. But I
feel bad,
admire that it tried.
I don't need to know about Nature Made, but I will say the love for the Chatacabra is very true. I want to find a Squishmallow of Chatacabra.
Ferocious.
We are still in B tier when we get to the one I am the most mixed about, Doshaguma.
Doshaguma, I love the fact that Doshaguma has like a pack mechanic to where you either decidedly fight 3 Doshagumas with 1 alpha, or you can just make the obvious choice as a hunter and separate them. You either separate the pack, or if you want to make it challenging, have 3v4 or 3v3 if you like, and just make it a chaotic fight in general. I had both instances when I streamed the game. I don't think I clipped it when I made the digestible bite, but Doshaguma, very fun during my Polygon days before my new graphics card, and I plan on getting a new RAM cards later on. Not this weekend, just because I had the choice between buying the game, which I wasn't able to till recently, and paying for the cards. And I need new RAM because I'm going to be streaming and editing at the same time, so who knows.
Really interesting concept, and a fight that also has an interesting dynamic going on. Separating the alpha from the pack is harder than it looks. As you can see, I struggled with that quite a bit. Then wanted to run away and maybe get one of them into a turf war to help separate the pack, but instead it was the sands that helped me separate the Doshagume.
Why didn't you throw turds at them? You were given a dung bomb and a large dung bomb to whether one person leaves or everybody GTFOs.
Because the weaker ones got gobbled up by it. The fight itself is also quite fun, as the wounds you inflict actually
One beta flees, one beta gets gobbled, and the alpha gets out of the sand.
open up again when it rages. And when this one rages, it actually hits way harder than Chata or Balahara or Chipsaros because it deals a lot of damage. If the other Doshu then
The
also
floor's
come back
made out
on
of
top
floor.
of that, then we got a fucking problem. So there's a lot you have to consider, which I think can be a bit annoying over time.
Why did you... The fact that you feel like you needed to use 3 regular dunk bombs on him, that's a problem itself. Just throw one big dookie and let everybody leave.
Fight takes longer than I would like, but again, I'm not too sure on this one. I think my opinion on Doshaguma might flip-flop with the full release, which is exactly why this one is around the middle of the B tier for now, a bit above Chata and a bit below my number 3.
Chatacabra is above Doshaguma. I will tell you that. You have this listing wrong. Chatacabra is over Doshaguma.
Balahara. The developers seem to already have the shrinking tool I mentioned earlier, because they took the
Balahara
ones
is
from
interesting.
and shrunk them down to a size that can be dealt with. I love the design of this creature. The design itself would warrant an A tier. The movement is also so off and weird.
Yeah, I love the fact that the mouthpiece of Balahara reminds me of a lamprey, and lampreys freak me out. So to make it at a size to where I can take it down in reality and in the game is really fun too. And for his tail to look like a drill bit makes me feel like you can pierce the heavens, like my boy Simon.
It's just very, very cool. The only bad thing is that the fight itself is a bit too samey and easy. My dual blades cut through this like an oversized sea cucumber. It really doesn't have a lot going on in its favor. Its Sandborn attacks rarely connect, they only go into your general direction. Only the tail swipes can sometimes hit you, but even then it won't really be a huge issue because they don't deal a lot of damage. Of course, this is an early game fight, so it is supposed to be easy, but this is clearly the second easiest of the bunch and easily soloable even by somewhat noob like myself in under 10 minutes. Which is a bit sad because I feel like this one being harder would actually make this one so much cooler.
I will say that it should be... And I would switch Balahara below Chatacabra. It would be the chicken, then Doshaguma, then Balahara, then Chatacabra.
What I'm gonna say now applies to every one of these monsters except maybe for Chip.
But I will say Balahara and Chatacabra are very good monsters for beginners, and to learn how to control your surroundings, Doshaguma is the best guy to play with when it comes to learning how to controlling your space. Because if you go into a hunt and you don't have the awareness of other monsters that can come in randomly, then you're gonna have a hard time. Because if you come into a fight and while dealing with an alpha Doshaguma and you haven't gotten rid of the betas yet, you can have a Radar randomly come in, or an Arc Veiled, or any of the monsters that are within the environment come in randomly and just attack because their space is being invaded. So if you don't, so Doshaguma is very good at teaching you, hey, take care of your space or you will be floored.
Chipsaurus, I hope we get variants of these or subspecies later on. Especially Chatacabra, Balahara, or even Radar could go crazy with a hard late game version. Imagine Balahara's subspecies just being almost the normal size of one of those dune things. Now that would be imposed.
I will say, if I remember correctly, there was a mode where I forget if it's in World, but there was a specific hunt to where a regular let me see, let me look it up just to like save us. Was double their size. Golden Crown. I feel like there was a monster. Like I don't know. I feel like I fought something where, oh god. I feel like I can't look at Google is not giving me an answer, but I'm very confident that there was a time where they made a monster event where they doubled the size of the monster. So if somebody knows the monster that I'm talking about, where they, for the special event, they enlarged the monster for funsies.
Posing and could go crazy. For now, this one is at the very top of B tier, glancing over at the A tier, and it sees that the A tier is empty. Because the A tier would normally be reserved for the Enginaths of the world, maybe a Rathalos or Rathian. but the top 2 of this list go straight past the true greats and go for the true best of the best. The S tier. Archveld is, even if the thumbnail will say otherwise, my number 2, not number 1. But even though that's the case,
well, to be fair, like, I can understand why you would trick us to say Archveld is going to be the second best monster, only because I would say Archveld is the best monster over Raydao because he has more versatility in terms of, like, you have the chained whips, and then there's more versatile attacks. There's 2 different attack modes, and there's 2 different flavors. Raydao is very predictable. Archveld, you can never guarantee if you're out of its blast range in time. But I will say, I disagree with his opinion, but I like the video so far.
The case, even though it is number 2 here, Archveld is an absolute menace, and as a flagship, I might even be inclined to put it above our beloved Nergigante from World. When I went out to face this lad, I only had one goal: not die 5 times, aka actually survive till the time runs out. And I not only did that, I even managed to cut off its tail, which is kinda nice. Regarding the fight itself, it is close to perfect. The only downside is that sometimes it's a bit hard to see what's going on, but apart from that, Arki's chain attacks actually give you quite a bit of room to breathe here and there.
I will say he has the incorrect opinion where if it's hard to manage your position against Archveld, that is your problem as a hunter, because you had Dashaguma, you've had monsters before Archveld to teach you to be self-aware of your environment. Dashaguma was the biggest example of, like, crowding your camera and making sure that if you don't like this situation, you either change your position or you put down a big dookie. In this case, what do you say?
Attacks actually give you quite that sometimes it's a bit hard to see what's going on.
I will say that also, like, I would always survive the hunts, but my goal was to beat it. So I tried it by myself. I tried it with support hunters. It took me 3 different days of the beta because of my work schedule to finally then beat him, and it's up on the channel too.
But apart from that,
at this time, but I don't know what's gonna happen.
His chain attacks actually give you quite a bit of room to breathe here and there. But when it hits quite hard, especially when it's glowing red and
so
it is
hard,
making everything your problem. People were saying that using your Sacred to get away would make the game too easy, but make no mistake, they just upped the aggression on a lot of the...
I will say that when he grabs you, I learned very quickly that I'm better off having something in my slinger shot at all times, whether it be flash, because if I load up a flash and I do this, he leaves the grapple stunned. That is very good. Otherwise, you would have a cluster bomb in your slink or rocks. And just about everything that you shoot him in the eye with will work.
These monsters. I can only imagine what it would be like to fight a big bad monster in a small space, where getting away is much harder. But even in this open space, I got my ass handed to me. And what I did catch on video, by the way, is when I accidentally interrupted a fight between Archveld and Raydao by dropping boulders on both of them.
Boulders on boulders, man.
I would love to see who comes out on top in these fights.
I will say that there has been people who recorded 6-minute captures, and when you'd be using there was a gun lance user and hammer user that used rock to help with the primary functions of stunning, and when he was about to fly for, like, the jump attack and then whip, they used the flash bomb to interrupt it. So hell yeah, I need to learn how to do that.
But to sum up, this is just a really cool dragon with really cool unique chains. And sometimes that's not only enough, it is exactly what we need. While Archveld was probably around the middle of S tier, at the very top of S tier, S plus if you will, one of the best monsters to ever exist in Monster Hunter, I reckon, sits the magnificent Raydao.
I will say that it is a cool monster in design, where it's a Rathian with extra blades that will grind the floor and you along with it, and if he doesn't like you, he's gonna charge up the power of Zeus and shoot it from his face in a railgun.
I don't know who came up with this design, but I want to give them a raise, a house. Actually, I personally give them the keys to my city of Vienna. Raydao would just fit in, roaming the skies above Rheinland. This monster is a thunder dragon gun, and I love it. I don't know what to say. I'm just absolutely mesmerized by the sheer aura this monster has. This is the monster that truly owns the windswept plains. The thunder is its home, and it too rains down pain by the second when you fight it.
Yeah, because like the constant like you have both attacks of either a tail flip or the the grinding of the blade.
Every attack on this thing feels fair but hard. And as you can see, just like with Arkweld, I actually did not manage to slay it with the one try I gave myself, but I did manage to observe it. And oh my god, the sound design for this thunderous gun is maybe the best I have ever heard.
It sounds like glass chandeliers whenever you're like Radau speaks. It is beautiful.
From the monster in Monster Hunter. It blows Legiana and Bagel Geese out of the water. It is perfection. I unironically listened to an 18-minute compilation of all the sounds it makes just to be able to fully grasp everything they did for this creature. This literally is my favorite design of any creature, at least since the Elden Ring DLC.
Instead of breathing fire, it shoots lightning.
This is what we wait for, this is what we hunt for, and this is what we die for. I can't wait to hop onto the game with some
until you die
and slay this god of the storm. So yeah, this was a lot of fun, and
yeah,
a different video.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will make another Monster Hunter video. I think there would be a lot I could cover in Wilds, but it all depends on if you want to see more. If you do, please do the usual stuff like liking, commenting, and the like. And thanks to my Patreons Idol, Aura, and new to the club, Sherry. I appreciate all your support so much. Thanks a ton, and I will see you next week with another video, hopefully, unless I spontaneously combust into dust and particles. Bye.
I will say that was a very fun video from Skillet. My first time watching the video because it was within my recommendations. But please check him out. He was fun to watch. I do feel like Arkweld should be the S tier, the number one monster because it challenges your understanding of the game. It challenges your abilities as a hunter because you have to learn real quickly whether or not you understand the mechanics. And from the very beginning, the game teaches you mechanics of Monster Hunter Wilds. And if you don't understand it, then you're going to have a hard time with Arkweld. Your best monster to fight based on the mechanics would be Radau. Radau is a great repetition of your understanding. But you also have to understand that Arkweld is the true ultimate test of you understanding the mechanics. And people had 6 minute, 6 minute captures and hunts of it. So that's my opinion. But anyways, Stizzl, good job. I'm excited to watch more videos from you. I'm excited for your experience in Wilds. If I run into you in Wilds, I'm excited to play with you because this is cross-platform, I believe. So thank you guys so much for watching. Follow him. And that's the video. Thank you. Bye-bye.